Welcome to my crib. I'm just kidding. Welcome to my new background. We are in a new location. Well, a new old. No. Old. New? No, Milo just jumped onto a candle. Are you okay? Oh, it smells like burnt fur. So that's how this move has been going. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Liz, and in today's video we are going to be doing my June reading wrap up. The month of June, wow, what a whirlwind. It truly did go by so fast because of how much was going on in my life, but I also feel like I was able to get through so many books, which I'm so happy about. I did in fact have one 5-star. I had some new authors that I read some books that aren't out yet, so some arcs, which was exciting, and also a lot for my summer TBR, so that feels really good. I am slowly getting moved in to the new slash old slash new place. If you've been watching me for a while, my first handful of YouTube videos were in this location, so that's kind of weird and feels very nostalgic. This will maybe be temporary. We shall see. I don't know how long I'll actually be here, but I am going to be looking for a house hopefully soon, so that's exciting. But for now, this is where we are going to be staying. You'll see some familiar backgrounds, which is awesome. I will be putting up my bookshelves down in the basement sometime soon. That will probably be its own video, is just getting my books put back. These are actually books that I left here after I moved, and these will also move to the basement. It's gonna be so nice to get all of my books out of boxes because right now they're all packed away, and that is very sad. Enough yapping about that and catching up on things. Let's talk about the books that I read in June. The first book that I read this month is To Drown a Witch by Lindsay Olsen. This book I actually really enjoyed. It's very moody and very atmospheric. If you have ever read Heartless Hunter, then this gives very similar vibes to that book. It is about like a witch and a witch hunter, that kind of trope. I believe it's going to end up being a duology, which I for sure will be reading book 2 when it eventually comes out. I don't even remember what readings. I need to get my reading journal out. I'm very out of sorts because I have things everywhere at the moment, and it's been very challenging finding things in all of the boxes. This story, like I said, it is about a witch and a witch hunter. So in this world, there's this witch that is born every handful of decades. If they kill the witch, then it just gets reborn in a new person. This innate natural ability to use magic. There is magic in this world, but it's very hard to keep and maintain it. The witch is the only person who has it actually running through their veins. In the city, some guards start dropping dead. Our main character, she actually has this magical ability that she can sniff out magic. This king's guard makes a deal with her, basically asks her to help him hunt down the witch, and he will keep her out of prison. I really enjoyed the dynamic of this book. I ate it up. It is a very easy book to binge and fly through. I thought the magic was very interesting because the magic manifests in different ways in people. Getting to see that and how some people start to go mad and kind of go crazy from the magic and just how it affects everyone was very fun to read about. I loved the writing style. Like I said, it was very moody. I think this would be a really great fall read. I am very excited for book 2 to eventually come out. And I believe this one comes out maybe this month. The next book that I read, this was my 5-star read of this month, and that is The Bright Years by Sarah Demoff. I read her other book, The Burning Side, a couple of months ago, and I really enjoyed it. She just has a way of writing family dynamics in such a realistic way, and it's always so beautiful, so tender, and just it gives you all the feels, truly. The story, it's kind of hard to explain it. I almost feel like you should go into it blind, but if you want like a general synopsis for this book, it is following a family, this married couple. You're following them through their life and their marriage, and you're seeing how different childhood trauma can affect someone later on in life, how these cycles and patterns happen that are really hard to break from your family. It was just such a beautiful story. It does jump around to different timelines. It jumps around to different POVs, and it just all came together very seamlessly, and I highly recommend it. I think anyone could read this and enjoy it. I was sobbing into my pillow past my bedtime, and if a book can do that, it deserves 5 stars. The next book that I read was The Wild Beneath by Kelly Anderson. If you liked Wild Dark Shore for the atmosphere and the setting and the way it was written with the details of the setting, then you would enjoy this book. To me, this is a summary version of Wild Dark Shore. It was so well done. I really loved this author's writing. I think this might have been her debut novel, but I'm not 100% sure. But I was so impressed with the writing style in this one. It is following our main character character who grew up on a boat with her parents. So she's lived a life that's kind of isolated. She never went to school. Like, she tried, but they ended up homeschooling her. And she really only ever had one friend growing up, which we learn about their friendship and kind of how they have like that childhood first love. And our main character seems to have just this way with the water. It feels like she is very natural in the water and can almost communicate with aquatic creatures. Like, she just fits in with the ocean. And when this huge storm hits, she ends up losing her parents. And then this young man named Walker gets washed up on shore. Through meeting Walker, she kind of gets this connection to the sea that she had lost when she lost her parents. He also has this kind of like innate ability to communicate with the sea. And this is very comforting for her because of losing her parents. She kind of made her lose herself in a way because the ocean has always felt like home, but now she feels kind of lost and left adrift. Forgive my pun. The story does follow our characters through a large portion of their lives. It is a romance, it is a love story. It's also a little bit of a love triangle. I think it was all done very tastefully. It made sense with what our characters were going through, why we were having this internal struggle, and with what was happening in this little seaside town. I definitely recommend it. I believe it comes out in August, beginning of August. So definitely add this to your TBR for the future because I really, really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. The next book that I read was The Book of Heartbreak by Ova Sarin. This book I have lots of mixed thoughts and feelings on. We are following our main character who has this curse put on her where she can't have her heart broken more than 5 times. If she has her heart broken 5 times, then it stops her heart forever. She's had this curse placed on her entire life. She doesn't know why or where it came from. Her mom at the beginning of the book passes away very unexpectedly, and her heart then breaks for the 4th time. So now she only has 1 heartbreak left. She ends up getting sent away to live with her grandfather that she didn't even know existed. Through this whole process, she starts to look for answers on where this curse came from, how to maybe break it. Also, at the same time, she's learning the history of her mom and where she came from. We also have our male main character who is a seer, and when he meets her, he decides to team up with her and help her kind of break this curse. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I really liked it in theory, but I think the way it was done, it kind of gave me similar feelings to how I felt when I read Masters of Death by Olivia Blake, where it's like this very, not serious, but more serious subject matter, and it's almost handled in like a comedic way. In between chapters, we're getting this like email correspondence between these different angels who are like overseeing this curse and like what's going on with this character. I think it was supposed to be funny, but at the same time, it kind of took me out of the story, which I didn't love. Also, just overall, what was going on with the characters, I did find myself very bored at times. So I don't know. Like, there were moments when I was really hooked and locked in with our characters, and then there were moments when in between chapters, you know, you get this email and it's supposed to be funny, and then I'm taken out of the story again. But it was my first book read by this author. I'm open to reading more in the future because I did like the writing style in general, but this one unfortunately just gave me meh vibes. Very mixed feelings on this one. The next book I read this specifically because the TV show for book 1 in this like companion novel interconnected series was coming out, and that is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. Every Summer After, which I think was her first novel, got a TV show, and obviously I had to watch that show because I read that book many, many years ago, and I needed to read this one. This is a companion novel where it follows the male main character from that book's older brother, Charlie. So I was really excited to get Charlie's story because I did really love him in Every Summer After. In the story, our female main character, she ends up coming to Barry's Bay with her grandmother. Her grandmother is going through this rehab because she got injured, and so she's staying with her this summer at their little lake house. And when she was a teenager, she would visit her grandma at this lake house, and she would always see this group of kids who would play across the lake, and those were our main characters from Every Summer After. She's a photographer, and she took a photo of them that won a lot of awards and kind of blew up. And ever since then, she's always wanted to be a part of that group. She ends up meeting Charlie. He's kind of helping run things on this land, like fixing things around the house for them and helping out with the grandma. Through this, they strike up this friendship, and that's what I really loved about this book. It felt very realistic, the way that their friendship kind of progressed through it. You can tell that they have a lot of chemistry at first, but both of them are not interested in a relationship. Our main character is fresh out of a very long, like I want to say like 4 or 5 year relationship, and Charlie, he's always been a flirt. He's always been kind of like a playboy, and so seeing their friendship kind of blossom through the course of this summer of her helping her grandma, I thought was really, really, really beautiful, and I loved them and getting to see them open up to each other throughout the summer. I think every book I read by Carly Fortune, it just gets better and better and better, and I'm really excited to eventually read her newest novel, Our Perfect Storm, which waiting for paperback, so it'll probably be another year. The next book that I read after that is actually an audiobook that I listened to, and that is Voyagers by, I'm forgetting the author's name, but I will put the cover on the screen. This is a story about two childhood friends who went missing in the desert on a family vacation, and when they are found, they both claim that they were abducted by aliens. And so through this claim, you kind of follow them through their life, through the decades, and see how this claim has impacted them later on in life. A lot of people say if you enjoyed Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow, you'd probably enjoy Voyagers because it kind of has a similar way of telling the story. But I did find it very interesting. Also, in between chapters, you're getting these chapters about this alien named Alan. And from the beginning, you don't really know if Alan is real or if he is a made up fictional character that they came up with when they were children. The whole time you're kind of like learning about this alien at the same time of learning about these two characters. Felt very unreliable. Like I felt like our characters were unreliable narrators. I didn't really know if anything was real or not real. That was kind of hard for me to come to terms with as I was listening to it. I think the last 10% is the parts that kind of lost me a little bit. I will say I do recommend it though. I think if you do like Tomorrow and Tomorrow, Tomorrow, then you probably would enjoy this book. And then the next book that I also listened to as an audiobook is Break Room. This is a translation and it says it's a mixture of Survivor meets The Office, which I definitely think is an accurate assessment of this story. It is very short and very quick and easy to listen to as an audiobook. Like you could finish this within an hour, but I enjoyed my time while listening. It's following our main character where he is entered into this reality TV show or like a game show essentially called Break Room. Basically, they sent out a survey to all of these offices in the country and had everyone vote for the villain of the office. And it could be for various reasons. Like one person, they break out into monologue anytime they see someone, or another person might like hog all of the coffee or stuff in the break room. So like it's all very silly things. It's not that they're actually bad people. It's just that they might have some weird quirks about themselves, or it could be that they just are slightly annoying or inconvenient to work with. And they're all entered into this office space where they have to work and they get 1 hour a day to go into this break room and interact with each other. And there's one person who's a mole who was planted, and they have to vote on who that mole is just by observing people and figuring out like who is connected to what quirk or moniker. And it was interesting. It was a fun time, and it definitely all wrapped up in a very neat way. So I did enjoy it, and I do recommend it. I ended up giving it 3 stars just because I feel like it was too short. I wish I got more. The next book that I read is God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I finally read this book, guys. This has been a long time coming. I have tried reading this for well over a year now, and I finally read it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I'm so glad that I did. I'm actually tempted to go and buy her other book, Long Bright River, because of after reading this book how much I enjoyed it. So we shall see. I might end up getting that book too. This is a story following this summer camp. This family owns it and runs it. This year, the daughter of the family that owns this camp disappears one morning from her bunk, and then it launches this investigation into this family. Turns out another one of their children has gone missing in previous years at this camp. It creates like these questions and secrecy around this family. We don't know what is real, what is not real. They clearly are hiding something. We just don't know what. What I really liked about the storytelling of this one is you do jump around different POVs. Like you'll get the camp counselor, you'll get the parents, you'll get the friends who went to the summer camp with our main characters, and you get the lead investigator on the case, and you just jump around all these different characters, and I feel like it helped paint a fuller picture of what was going on. You also jump around to different timelines, different years. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. I will say at first it was a little hard to get used to because there's a lot of characters you're following. Just trying to keep that all straight in your brain was a little challenging at first, but once I had them all figured out in my head, I flew through this book. I was very locked in. The next book that I actually listened to as an audiobook is Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke. Finally, guys, this book is so hyped up right now. It was about time that I finally read it, and I'm really glad I did as an audiobook. I think the narrator did a great job capturing the voice of our female main character. This is a story following a woman who is a trad wife, and she is also an influencer. So all of her social media is about being a trad wife. She ends up up getting sent back to the 1800s where she has to live out the life of an actual tradwife. It was very interesting. There was a lot of mystery happening. Also a very dark story as well, but I really enjoyed it. There were moments where I had to stop the audiobook and walk away because of how dark and just bleak it got in some areas. It made me sick to my stomach. This has a lot of controversy surrounding like the ending of the book. I do have a lot of mixed feelings on it, but I can't really share my feelings on those without major spoilers. So I am going to keep those to myself, but just know the ending of this book definitely packs a punch. This is definitely a book that you will want to chat about with someone and break it down more. So maybe buddy read it, honestly. And the next book that I read, this is actually a collection of short stories, and that is People Who Live Alone Talk Too Much by Sophie Stambo. This is a collection of stories about these immigrants who live in New York City, and you're just following a bunch of stories about different immigrants and their lives. It's very messy, very chaotic, very funny, very down to earth. You kind of get all of the emotions and all of the feels from these stories. I do think they're very fast paced and easy to whip through. There's also a lot of really cool illustrations throughout the story, which I really enjoyed. I'm trying to slowly get into short stories, so this was a fun one to add to my shelf. There were definitely some stories that I just didn't really connect to, but I think it's supposed to be that way where you're going to resonate more with different stories depending on your own life experiences, and I still recommend it. And the last two books that I read this month, they're both novellas from the After the End book box collection by Ali Hazelwood. There's 8 different novellas and they're all by different authors. Ali Hazelwood does have one of them, which I'm saving for last, but I'm trying to slowly work through them and read maybe 1 or 2 a week, and I was able to get through 2 this past week. The first one is Prima by Sherry Thomas. These are all dystopian romance books, so they're very short, very quick and easy to fly through. In this one, our male main character, he comes across a woman who was on a raft in the middle of the ocean. He ends up helping her out. They get to know each other, and what he doesn't know is he's actually had his memory wiped, and he has had this exact same scenario play out a decade earlier. And so you get a mixture of timelines. You get your now and your then of him meeting this woman and their interactions. I thought it was a really great summary novella, just because it does take place on the ocean, and it was interesting. It definitely had like a little bit of like a sci-fi element to it with the way he loses his memory. I don't really know what I want to rate it. I'm kind of waiting until I finish all of the novellas before I actually tack on a star rating. So at this point, I don't have this one rated or the other one that I read. And the other novella I was able to read was Trade by Kate C. Wells. This is a story where mankind, they are living in this bunker. For all they know, the world outside of the bunker is like a total wasteland. And basically there's these outsiders who live outside of the bunker that they make trades with. Our female main character at the beginning of this book, she's married, but she finds out that her husband got an 18-year-old pregnant. She ends up getting put into the lottery where women are basically traded with the outsiders for different items, and such as like fuel or goods and things like that. She ends up getting chosen in the lottery and sent out to the outside world where she runs into a man who is half her age and he's carrying a machete. I actually really enjoyed this one. I liked it more than I liked Prima. So far in my ranking, this one I liked better than Prima. There were some things that I had a little bit of an issue with in this story. It does mention and talk about rape in this book, but overall, I did enjoy the story. I enjoyed watching our female main character kind of take her power back. Once again, no rating for this one just because I don't really know what to rate these, if I'm totally honest. And those are all of the books that I read in the month of June. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am really excited for July. I feel like there's a lot of fun books that I'm planning. I am going to be doing Summer Ween this month, so I will definitely have a vlog all about that. There'll just be more reading vlogs because I'm just so excited to get into some of my summer TBR. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.